What's up, everybody? How's it going? We are back. This is Thursday, and today I have a guest again. See, he's my buddy Jody Wright. Jody Wright is an entrepreneur. He has a business called Khalu Cryotherapy. So if you're in the southern Utah area and you need to be frozen, that's where you go. Khalu Cryotherapy, 676 South Bluff Street, Suite 200. St. George, Utah, 84770. The information's all in the show notes. But if you would like to go there, the Khalu Cryo has an Instagram, Khalu Cryo. And Jody has an Instagram. He has a personal Instagram as well. Jody Wright _SO_Utah. Links in the show notes and whatnot. Okay, so don't worry about it. Without further ado, if you want to go do stand-up comedy, if you're in southern Utah, you want to do stand-up comedy, you go to Khalu Cryotherapy 2, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 8 p.m., okay? That's where you go. Now, without further ado, my buddy Jody Wright, please welcome him to the show. Bye-bye. All right, everybody, this is my buddy Jody Wright, a direct descendant of the Wright brothers. For those of you listening, he just said no with his head. He shook his head no. All right, so Jody Wright, hello. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming, buddy. So tell us a little bit. Where did you grow up?
I'm originally from Utah. I moved to southern Utah from the Salt Lake area about 20 years ago.
20 years ago? So tell me a bit about what it was like growing up in the Salt Lake area.
Salt Lake City isn't what it is now. It was a lot of the little, there were cities such as Granger, Hunter, Sandy. All of them were spread apart, and there weren't houses. There were a lot of farms and fields in between all of those. I could, from where I lived in Hunter, which became West Valley City, we could look across from the front yard, see the skyline of Salt Lake City, and they had a bank that had a tower at the top of the bank that would change colors according to what the weather forecast is going to be. And that was something that I remembered as a kid looking out. You can't even, the air quality is poor. There are so many people now in the area. And I grew up on a busy street in kind of a quiet area. And I'm the oldest of 5 kids.
5? So is there a big age difference between all of you, or you're
about 2 years apiece?
Okay, yeah. That's not bad.
Pretty close.
So was Salt Lake a big city when you were growing up, or it was just
seemed big to me?
Yeah,
it was the largest city in the area.
So but it was considered a big city, though.
Gosh, I wonder what we'd compare it to back then. Now, but it was close to the largest city in Utah. I think Ogden was bigger.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore, right? Salt Lake's the biggest city in Utah?
No, I think Ogden and West Valley are
They're
probably bigger.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Population-wise, Ogden might be there with population.
Okay. And in terms of, like, attractions?
So Utah's always been known for skiing. We were always maybe 35, 40 minutes away from
the actual lake,
the foot of the mountains. Park City is 40 minutes away.
So what's the better skiing, Park City or Salt Lake?
Well, there are a few canyons that you can get to some resorts in Salt Lake, and some of them are popular for different reasons. Brighton is where I learned to ski for the first time, and it was a small resort. Now it's known for snowboarding. It just became, once snowboarding became popular, it became the big snowboarding area. there's Alta that has some real technical, a lot of black runs.
Were you a big skier growing up?
I just did it casually. I wasn't a big skier.
What does casually mean? Like you did
Like
it like once every 6 months?
I probably, some years, before I moved to southern Utah, I averaged maybe 8 to 12 times a season.
Mm-hmm.
So not very much. But it was nice, and I never got into black runs. I was always a green run and a blue run skier.
That's pretty good though. Like 8 or 9 times a season. That's like you did that for fun a lot though, right?
Yeah, it was more for fun. There are people that moved to the area that winter they skied and they worked to be able to. They worked all the rest of the year to ski.
Oh wow, okay. All right. So how old were you when you moved out of Salt Lake for the first time?
The first time I moved out of Salt Lake, because I grew up Mormon, LDS, it was when I turned 19 and did the whole Mormon mission thing.
Where did that mission take you?
Northern California.
Northern California?
Yeah, when I got my letter from Salt Lake City, they said I was going to the Santa Rosa, California mission. Mm-hmm. And when I looked up Santa Rosa on a map, because back then we looked on maps.
Yeah.
All I found was Santa Rosa Island somewhere off of Los Angeles. Well, that can't be where they're sending me. And then, so the Santa Rosa mission covered from the north end of the Golden Gate Bridge up to the border, like Crescent City, the border of California. It went as far east as Vacaville and Fairfield, but then it cut in. It's like we had the Napa Sonoma wine country area, but then it kind of takes a sharp in towards the coast and goes up the 5. Is it the 5 or the 101?
It's either the 5, the 101, or I think those are like the big highways in Northern California. But honestly, I didn't like spend that much time up there. Like I visited a few times, but I don't remember because there's other highways, but the big ones that I remember are the 5 and the 101. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the redwoods. I loved the Rocky Coast up there, and it was a good experience. I'm not a believing Mormon, but I feel like it was a great experience growing up in Utah, and then getting that experience.
Yeah. So were you homeschooled, or did you go to an actual high school?
No, I had regular public schooling.
What was that like for you?
I was kind of the maybe a nerd, a little introverted, got bullied a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What did you do to deal with the bullying? Did you deal with it, or you just let it happen?
I oftentimes let it happen.
Yeah?
There were times that I remember being in the principal's office, usually because I got nailed in the face or something like that. There was a time that I really got pounded in high school. When
I like the choice of words you're using.
there was a guy that tormented me in math class.
Yeah.
And he, at one point, I was fed up, and I probably said something back.
Yeah.
And my face was met with his fist as soon as I stepped out of the classroom. And I remember bleeding over the math teacher's shoes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Going down to I was in the vice principal's office, and he said, well, tell you could press charges, and I just know that this kid's home life is horrible, and I don't think we press charges.
Yeah, I mean, usually, like bullies, that's what's happening, right? Like they either get bullied at home, or their life is a wreck. Mm-hmm. So that's why they're acting out like that, right? So, did you ever become friends with the guy, or that never?
No, never became friends with that guy. I had another situation. It was interesting. I got bullied by those my age and older in my church congregation.
Oh, really? So you were bullied at the church?
I guess
dude?
I just had a sign on my forehead that said "Easy Target."
Hey, man. Well, let me ask you this: do you feel like all that bullying gave you something positive to work with in your life?
You know, at 52, I think I'm starting to get some of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that it created some patterns in my life of protection and hiding and afraid to mess up.
Mm-hmm.
That just in the recent 5 years when I opened up a business and I'm operating a business, that stuff comes up to be dealt with because I'm faced with situations with the public, with employees, and those ways that I've kind of held back and hidden and not been as forward
Mm-hmm.
or solid, or that stuff has been kind of in my face. And so playing around with stand-up comedy, I think, is another one of those things of unraveling. You yourself have pointed out certain things about me as I've been just beginning here, that I was in my head a lot. I definitely had control issues. So going up on a mic and really trying to make sure I don't mess up and make sure it's perfect just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So at least not when I'm learning.
Yeah. I mean, you can have that when you're really good or when you have something down, right? But in the beginning, you can't, like you said, when you're learning, that's not going to help you because you're not going to try anything new. And stand-up comedy is one of those things that you got to try so many things that eventually you'll figure out what works for you, and that's how you get better. But it's always nice to try different things, right? Mm-hmm. So
I want to just say this, since we were talking about bullies.
Yeah.
I became a massage therapist and worked with a lot of different people, and my technique was pretty I could do the deep tissue, and I could put the hurt on somebody that wanted me to really get into their muscles. And a lot of these personalities that I worked with were those personalities that I was bullied by, and I would have these
really
amazing moments where I'd realize, wow, this guy is squealing and crying a little bit, and he's asking me for it, and he's paying me for it. This is like a full circle moment.
So it was like life giving you a situation where you can just, take it out on them and enjoy it and get paid for it.
Like, I would never in my life hang out with this type of asshole, and he's paying me good money to hurt him right now. It was beautiful.
So it was cathartic.
It was.
So you were bullied. Was it throughout your whole childhood, or did it start at a certain age?
Elementary school, probably around third, fourth grade is when I start to remember the particular kids that tormented me through those grades.
So school altogether wasn't a fun experience for you then?
It had things that I liked about it.
What were they?
Oh, I remember having I was early reading. My parents told me that I was reading billboards when I was 3. I was picking out words. I was born in 1969. I think it was the same year that Sesame Street started.
Okay.
And so I was one of those early kids.
So you're like early adopter for Sesame Street.
Yeah, and I think I was just like a sponge with that. And reading, I just really got into reading. I had a first grade teacher who remember things like us singing John Denver songs, learning John Denver songs, and having these reading contests, and winning a reading contest and getting the entire Chronicles of Narnia set. Just loving that kind of stuff.
So you were a big reader, right?
Mm-hmm.
So did you use those books as an escape somehow, or
I'm sure.
yeah?
I'm sure. As I was a teenager, I got into horror. I loved horror movies. I loved Stephen King books. Who else? Robin Cook. There were some other.
Is that your favorite genre?
These days,
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorite recent novels that I'd listen to it more because it's easier for me.
Mm-hmm.
Was Stephen King's 11/22/63. I love that book, and it reminded me of the old Stephen King books and just the way he wove a tale, and that was.
Is that one
really
of his newer novels?
Probably 6 years.
Okay, that's pretty recent, right?
It's a time travel type book on a guy who goes back to see if he can stop. First of all, to find out if Lee Harvey Oswald was the one that shot Kennedy. And this guy's idea that if he stopped that from happening, that the country would have been so much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I won't spoil it for anybody.
But
it's classic Stephen King. He weaves the tale. He tells the story so beautifully, and I love that one. That was these days I listen to a lot of business support books or motivational, inspirational kind of change your life kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's more of what I listen to or read.
Mm-hmm.
The only book I've read from Stephen King is On Writing. Have you read that or listened?
I saw it on your shelf, and I'd be interested.
It's a good book. So it pretty much just goes into his writing process, and then it's kind of like a biography in some ways, but at the same time it's not, So like he just talks about like where he was in his life when he was writing certain things and how he would go about certain ways of writing, like pretty much his writing process, and it's very interesting. Like I've only seen Stephen King movies, and they're not that many. I'm not a big horror guy,
and many of them suck.
Yeah,
they're not good. There are those ones that are classics that were taken from some short stories like The Shawshank Redemption or The Green Mile.
Is that a Stephen King?
That was Stephen King.
Oh, dude, I love that movie.
Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. I think I've got it in one of my books. I'll loan it to you.
Okay, dude, that is an amazing movie.
Yeah.
Okay. The Green Mile, too?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was... Okay.
Yeah, so Academy Award winners.
Yeah, dude, I love those movies.
But probably 80% of them are B-level stinkers.
Okay. So what? So the bigger ones that I didn't know those were Stephen King. So the bigger ones in my mind are
Carrie, The Shining.
The Shining.
Okay, those were all kind of groundbreaking, awesome.
Yeah. So
awesome
you do enjoy
thrillers.
those.
I don't watch those kinds of movies much anymore. I do like. There are times that I get into a mode where I want to watch something like I really enjoyed Breaking Bad, and that was like I wanted to go to the next one and go to the next one, and I started watching Ozark a couple years ago.
Oh, dude, that's a great. Breaking Bad's amazing too.
Yeah,
but I thought Ozark was gonna be like a clone, pretty much. It's not, and it's amazing too.
There's some similarities. Yeah. You have that guy that just seemingly good guy doing some shitty stuff, and put in these situations.
They both have a horrible wife too.
I'm trying to remember. So I haven't watched Ozark for over a year, and I want to jump back into it. And I just had a friend offer me his Netflix account.
Okay,
so
get in there.
I've been on Amazon, so whatever's on Amazon, I've been able to get.
So you switch around between services?
I've always kept an Amazon Prime for my work and everything. I did subscribe to Showtime so that I could watch some of those stand-up shows, both a documentary on the Comedy Store, and I'm Dying Up Here. Loved that series.
Yeah. What do you think about the Comedy Store documentary?
I thought it was pretty good. It was interesting. I had my experience at the Comedy Store a few years ago when I went back to LA to buy a cryotherapy machine, and they were recording Kill Tony at the time, and that was my favorite podcast. And I was in town one night, happened to be when they were recording. I get my tickets front and center, and I'm hoping that the special guest is somebody good, and it happens to be Joe Rogan.
Okay.
Who, with my business and cryotherapy, probably every few months I get people coming in to experience it who said, I heard about this from Joe Rogan. So again, it was one of those things I thought is full circle. It's synchronicity.
It's God's serendipity, right?
Serendipity. God's looking down and going, you're on your path. That type of a thing.
Okay. So let's go back a little bit. So you had an interesting high school and middle school and whatever experience, right? When you get out of high school, other than your mission, did you have anything in mind that you wanted to do?
I started out in early childhood development with my education. I had worked with kids, preschool age and special needs kids. So I saw myself going into education. That was after, as a early teen, and with Mormonism, you were kind of expected to be involved in Boy Scouts because each congregation pretty much had their own troop, and so you'd kind of reach a certain age, and you'd be at that level with scouting. And as I was saying with these bullies, I hated being in this group. These were kids. I moved from West Valley to West Jordan, and it was a little more rural. It was out. There were more farms at the time, a lot of cowboys in the school. There were distinct separations. There were the cowboys, the stoners, the preppies, the new wave. We had so I had friends in all of those circles. I had bullies in all those circles too. And I ended up giving up scouts when I had the opportunity to become a police explorer.
Okay.
And at that point, I thought, I could go into law enforcement. Here I was a 16, 17-year-old, and it was kind of exciting to be in that environment. And ultimately, I moved into, it was my senior year of high school that I started working with preschool age kids and special needs kids, and started at the community college taking early childhood education. And me, a guy in classes of women, I was I had a professor that was male also.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of buddy, and he was, to be able to do well as a male in that environment. If I was called Mr. Rogers, he said that's a high compliment.
Okay.
I thought he was nerdy. Of course, there was a time period when I thought Mr. Rogers was cool.
Yeah. I mean,
now I think he's cool again. I think he's become really cool.
Well, I think he's awesome, but I can see why you would think he's nerdy, right? But I don't know. I always had a fondness for him. So anyway, you said that you started with your focus on education. What made you change that?
Coming back from a Mormon mission and thinking, well, I need to get a job. I want to get a job in a place that I can maybe advance. I had who became family, my wife and mother-in-law at the time, that worked in a local hospital, and there was a position that opened up, an entry-level position. I did that just with the idea that I could advance.
Move up the ladder.
Yeah, they were more likely to hire in-house for some of the more desired jobs, but I started out in housekeeping.
So you was it Like you were like cleaning up rooms and stuff like that, or
Cleaning, yes.
just
Cleaning
like
hallways, cleaning rooms, cleaning in labor and delivery after a baby's been born. I was cleaning surgery rooms.
So you have to
little
be
of
like
everything.
super meticulous then.
Yeah, in places like the surgical room, you had to
You had to
be
literally
thorough.
sterilize stuff.
Right.
Okay. Wow. So I didn't mean to like blow past the mission thing, because that seems like a life-changing experience. So, and not that many people get to go through something like that, right? So like, tell us a little bit about what that's like.
At the time, it was for males 19, females they could go at 21. It was 2 years for the guys and a year and a half for the girls.
Did you do the full 2 years?
I did the full 2 years, and we were expected to. We couldn't date. We had a strict schedule. We were always partnered with another missionary, and there were strict rules about how you behaved, and you would get up, pray, read scriptures. During the day, do things like go out and knock on doors. You might have goals to hand out so many books of Mormon, and to meet with so many people and give so many of the discussions.
Yeah.
And with each of those discussions, there were challenges that you gave people, like read the Book of Mormon, pray about it, and then ideally you would get them to a point that they'd say, yes, we want to become Mormon.
Do you think that experience helped you in like, because you're a salesman essentially with your business, right? So do you think that having that life experience helped you become a better salesman because of that?
I found the ways as a missionary that were easier and more
digestible,
profitable, or conversion rate higher. Let's say if you could knock on a ton of doors and not have anybody be receptive, whereas if you have some friends who are in the local congregation and they had friends that they could invite, then it was more of a 50% conversion rate to be able to actually sit down and have a meeting. So I hated knocking on doors. So maybe if I did do that in the past, it would have been different. When, as you were asking the question, I think back at being a police explorer, and I went through a little academy there.
Yeah.
And I had a real timidness about me, and I was expected to step out of that and be more directing. And so that was probably the first thing that helped get me a little bit out of my shell. It also supported me in working with children and being clearer in speaking with children. So the explorers may have helped with the working with preschoolers and special needs.
Yeah.
And the mission, it gave me a broader experience of people who were less likely to be Mormon.
Yeah.
And so we were out of our comfort zone then. I feel like I just love people. As I got to know people, whatever their background, whatever their come from, I just found them interesting. I loved that part of it, meeting people, finding out about them, what made them tick. I wasn't the beat the door down type of missionary. There were guys that were a little bit self-righteous. Yeah. Maybe less compassionate. And I was more, I'd have in the back of my mind, well, they're not getting the answer that I want them to get. And I saw some people as being a little more devout in how they felt like they needed to live than maybe even I was.
Yeah.
So how could I freaking judge that?
Yeah.
And so those were kind of things that stuck in my mind as I was out there to preach and bring converts to Mormonism.
Okay. Is there anything from that experience that had nothing to do with like the Mormon thing that like you take like, oh, I really enjoyed this? Like, were there moments like that, or do they like pretty much force you to just do Mormon stuff all the time?
It was pretty strict. We would have a preparation day where we took care of our laundry, shopping, and might have some group activities with other missionaries or other members of the church in the area. And so there was going out to the beach. There was I would always explore the area that I was in.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Northern California at the time. Loved the redwoods. Riding my bike through vineyards. That was
that sounds amazing. Like the redwoods are amazing. Like I didn't like go through the whole forest, but I just saw them up close. I was like, wow. It's like a breathtaking experience just to see those trees that are ginormous, right?
And did you notice how silent it was?
Yeah.
No birds, no bugs. It's just dead silent. It's so amazing.
Yeah, it's a unique thing.
We were also told that we needed to watch out for not to wander too much because there were pot farms that were booby trapped.
Okay, so it seems like they had a pretty good handle on you guys, and like you were on a leash pretty much, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so going past that, now you're at this job where you're cleaning, and how long were you at this like place that you were working at?
I was in housekeeping for probably a year and a half before I moved into medical records.
But like as a whole, did you stay at that place for a long time?
I was at that hospital for probably 5 years.
Okay.
I had worked with a company that contracted with some of the doctors to do their medical coding, met this person, and then left the hospital to work for them and do medical coding. So I traveled to different emergency rooms, would pick up the charts. I worked specifically doing work for the doctors so they would get reimbursed for their for what they did.
Okay.
So those medical codes, there were codes that said what the person was seen for, and other codes that said what treatments were done, and those had a price tag attached to them.
Okay.
So I did that for emergency room doctors before I went into, and while I was going to massage school.
Okay. So how old were you when you started to go to massage school?
I think 26 or 27.
Okay. And
26.
What about massaging like intrigued you?
It felt like it was almost a Hail Mary. I was trying to find something that I wanted to do. And I had grandparents that would take trips to Napa and go to the spas. They talked about getting massages. It sounded like, at the time we had a massage school that was advertising continually.
Mm-hmm.
And I would drive past the school. I just decided I'd check it out for night courses. I had never had a full body massage per se, and I checked it out. They had a year and a half wait on night classes, but they said we're starting a day class in a couple months, and something felt right about it. Signed up, and it ended up being something that I loved and did for 25 years.
Oh wow! Okay.
My niche was athletes. I ended up getting clients who were athletes, and they're a group that have specific issues. It was a great way for me to learn how to be a better massage therapist, and the instant gratification, the feedback. It was cool. It just opened me up to really, really feeling good about what I was doing. Whereas the medical coding, it was mentally challenging in the beginning. Then it just got to be tedious. It was like taking a test every day. You could have multiple coders do the same chart and come up with multiple ways to code. And then you've got other departments in hospitals that might take issue with what you were doing, because if I charged for this procedure, they might not be able to bill and charge for something that they did, all that kind of crap. And so it was a relief. I wasn't a real touchy-feely kid, but massage came to be something that I really loved. Yeah.
So it kind of like literally forced you to be open to like human contact, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and working with people more. It was a different than that. I had to learn how to sell myself. Absolutely. Yeah. So that stretched me further. If I didn't get it knocking on doors, I had to get it to be successful now that I'd become my own boss.
Yeah. So you've pretty much been your own boss for around 30 years?
26 years.
Okay.
20. I weaned myself off the coding job, so fully self-employed for 23 years. And there were times that I worked for spas. I had my private clientele, but I'd work for a spa. I moved to St. George. Were you like
a contractor for the spa, or?
Yeah, we were contractors. No, I think I may have been a W-2 employee.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So you started doing massages in the Salt Lake area, and what brought you down to Southern Utah?
I had learned how to use hot stones. It was the new thing, and massage therapists were wanting to learn. There was one organization that was charging some crazy thousands of dollars to learn from them, their trademarked technique. And then there were others that I had a friend who was a massage therapist. She said, "Hey, I bought a kit online. Do you want to learn with me?" So here were rocks, a roaster oven, a photocopied protocol. And I remember the first time I'm following a protocol and working on her, and I'm thinking, these feel dumb, and she's purring. And then I get on the table and I feel these stones, and I think, oh, yeah, this is nice.
Okay.
And immediately I was seeing, how can I incorporate the heat this way, more specifically, to work with those athletes? Because some of them were professional bodybuilders. They were really hard to work with. And that I started to bring the stones in to get things warmed up, then put them aside, and then get down to the deep tissue work.
Okay.
And people loved that. And then I started getting requests to show people what I was doing. I got roped into doing a class for the local massage therapy chapter, and it was popular, even though it was a disaster. In my mind, it was a disaster.
Why so?
Well, I was getting these really smooth basalt river stones from a landscape company. They stopped carrying them. The organization was set up for about 25 people to take the class, and they decided that since that filled up so quickly, they were going to move it to Snowbird, which is a popular ski resort. They were going to hold it up there. They expanded it to like 50 people, and they maxed that out. So they call me up and they say, "We're doing it at Snowbird now. Everybody's excited. I'm feeling more intimidated. I don't have rocks." So the night before, or the day before, I'm up in the quarry trying to find smooth enough rocks. We've got roaster ovens, multiple roaster ovens, and right before we were to start this class, I realized the roaster ovens have blown all the circuits in this conference room.
Oh.
So we dwindled down to just as many roasters as we could do and not blow the circuits. Now we're, instead of doubled up on massage tables, we were like tripled or quadrupled up on a massage table, or maybe there were 3 people to a table and a roaster between 2 tables. And it was almost like, okay, imagine these stones are warm. How that would feel. I had just this panic inside. I'm overcompensating. The feedback, people loved the class. And that was one of those experiences of, in my mind, thinking this is horrific, and people had a great experience. Now, when I was a kid, I would come down to southern Utah, St. George, and hang out with my cousins
So you had
for a month or
family
2
around here.
out
Okay.
of the year. In fact, just right around the corner from where I'm living now, right up against a cool mountain, I fell in love with chasing lizards and climbing the rocks and the red rocks. So there was a spa that opened up that was internationally known. Oprah would come and stay here. It was called the Green Valley Spa. So when I was in school, there was this kind of a fantasy of working at a place like the Green Valley Spa, which I then discounted. Why would I be able to work there? I'm new. I don't know anything. You know, I had this idea of who that person was that worked there. I finished that Stones class, and maybe 3 months later, I get a phone call from this woman who said, I'm so-and-so, and I own the Green Valley Spa, and I hear you teach stones.
Oh.
I don't want to pay $10,000 to train my people in stones. How much will you charge me to come down? And so they set me up. It was one of those serendipitous moments, right?
Yeah.
Where I just couldn't believe I was doing this. They had a massage school in the basement of the facility because they just wanted to have control over how they trained their therapists.
Yeah.
And they showed interest in me after teaching a little weekend class, and that's all it took. I then started seeing how feasible is it to move down to St. George, and that was 20 years ago.
Wow. So that whole experience, the place that you thought you would never get into, is the place that made you want to move here, pretty much.
It was a vehicle to move here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I always wanted to move here, but it was the vehicle.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So when you moved here, how long did it take for you to actually set up like your own business?
I worked for them. I worked for the spa for, I want to say, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
While working for the school, and I continued another year with the school. An easy thing for massage therapists to do is to find somebody that has a room for rent, and then you put a massage table in there and start promoting yourself. So I want to say it was a couple of years into it when I had a room. We had a room at our home that we used for a little bit, but you don't want strangers coming over to your house.
Yeah.
So it was probably in Salt Lake when I first started doing massage. I was renting a room for, I want to say, $150 or $125 a month.
Was that a lot of money back then? Or
I mean, it was a lot for somebody who was working a wage and then concerned about finding clients.
Okay.
But I had a friend who just said, you can use my room. He had this space. Said, you can use my room. Pay me $5 or $10. So I set up a massage. I probably charged $35 or something and gave him $5. And at that moment I realized if I want to make it as a massage therapist, I just need to go for it and trust. And so then I was in hustle mode. I was in hustle mode during school, trying to get as much practice as possible. When I came down here, I already had established myself as a skillful massage therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I had started to meet people in the community, and you might put an ad in a newspaper. I'm kind of blanking on exactly how it started and where I rented a space first, but
That's not important if you don't remember.
yeah, it was. So I've been in a few places where I'd rent a room,
Yeah.
and it's accessible. If you got 2 or 3 people in a
Mhm.
month, you're
Yeah.
paying for your room.
Yeah.
So,
So you're pretty much your whole expense situation is covered, right? Other than, your living situation and whatnot.
correct.
But
So I was leaning on working at the spa and the school, and that was supplemental. At the time that I left altogether, I had met some people. There were folks, because my family was still in Salt Lake. I would go to Salt Lake occasionally, and so then it was easy to take the massage table and work on those people. And I was traveling. It ended up shifting into where I had a massage room in town, and then there were always people I could call on anywhere we were going, whether visit family in Salt Lake, visit family in Vegas, and go do massage work. And then I was pretty much fully independent, self-employed, writing off all these expenses. We never wrote off all of the expenses because we wanted to show an income.
yeah.
But it was that good when you could go and get a per diem for being in Salt Lake for a few days, and you're writing off mileage.
Yeah.
It worked out well.
All the business stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I met some people. There was a couple up in Salt Lake that I remember a couple years, they made 20 to 25% of my income. I only saw them 2 times in a month, but I would work on them 2, 3, 4 nights in a row. They just wanted
Okay.
to be worked on at their home. You're charging more of a premium rate at their home. And yeah, it was a good gig.
So it seems like you were doing a lot of traveling for the massage therapy. Where would you go? Or like was it just strictly set in Utah, or did you go all over the place?
It was mainly Utah and Nevada where we had family.
Okay. So it was just like where it seemed to be convenient for you to visit family, and then at the same time, I might as well get some work in.
Yeah, and then it was we get to see family because I was making a work trip.
Okay. So it was like a 2 birds, 1 stone kind of thing.
Exactly.
All right. And so what made you like look into the cryotherapy stuff?
About it's close to 7 years ago, probably 6.5 years ago, listening to Tim Ferriss. I noticed you got a Tim Ferriss book.
Yeah.
He was interviewing Tony Robbins.
Okay.
So Tony was talking up cryotherapy.
Yeah.
And because it reduced inflammation, our interest was piqued. It sounded cool. Wanted to try it. Thought,
Yeah.
well, there's got to be one in Vegas. And there wasn't at the time. I got someone on the phone once. I was looking online. I get this guy. I call him. He's in his car driving in Vegas. And he said, well, I'm at a little convention right now, but in Dallas, every month we do a little introduction to cryo businesses.
Yeah.
Invited me to come out and learn. Did not expect to buy into the machine, and went out, had a great experience. At the time I was dealing with wrist tendonitis, and the cryotherapy eliminated it for me.
Oh, wow, really?
And that made me think, whoa, this with massage and the high-level athletes and performers I was working with, and thinking, wow, this could really take it further. That sparked it.
Okay.
At the time, I wanted to open up a massage business, and it was very intimidating to think about that.
Yeah.
I think the cryotherapy spark and the uniqueness, because St. George was known to have a lot of massage therapists,
Okay.
a lot of businesses. So how do you set yourself apart? That, I think,
That was your little...
sparked it more to where it was fueling some drive to make it happen.
Okay. So between the time you got the spark and when you actually got the business going, what's the timeline between those two?
6 to 8 months.
Oh, wow, that's pretty quick. Wow. You got moving, huh?
I'd have to go look at to look at the pictures. I am not one that's good at remembering dates,
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not asking for
years
dates,
and dates. So
I'm just like a time frame, you know?
yeah, there are some people in my life that are more like, you said 6 months and it was 8. So I like to be as accurate as possible.
It doesn't matter. It's as long as you have an idea of what it is. That's all you need, right? So, so the cryotherapy thing has been going on for 6 years now, ish.
Yeah, 6 years next month. It was September 16th or 17th.
Okay,
That's a date I remember.
Okay, well, it was a big day for you, right? So,
Yeah. So we're approaching 6 years.
Nice. I thought you said reproaching 6 years.
Maybe.
Speaking of mishearing, when you said they got a kit, I thought you said I just bought a kid. I'm like a child. So anyway,
I could learn to enunciate better.
Better. Yes, sir. So I've actually done the cryotherapy a few times. You've put me up in that machine. It's crazy how if you're feeling some weird ache, it goes away immediately, because your body's super numb, but at the same time it's actually healing stuff. So I find that really interesting. How long do you know, around what time you discovered that you like doing stand-up comedy, or you enjoyed comedy as a whole?
I grew up with some comedy records. So I had some Steve Martin, some Joan Rivers records. Then I transitioned to audio cassettes, and I had Eddie Murphy. So I remember watching Saturday Night Live as I was younger than 10, watching with my dad. I remember specifically seeing Devo perform on Saturday Night Live and going, what is this? And liking the skits, especially the ridiculous ones, like John Belushi and the Samurai and stuff like that. It was really, I enjoyed that. So comedy has always been
present in your life.
Present. Never would have thought
that you would do it.
I would do it, or that I was capable of doing it. It was over the last few years meeting Valerie with Electric Comedy, and just telling. I've got a lot of stories. I've had just crazy experiences. Have a lot of stories, and you learn how to deliver the stories in a way that get a response. And so Valerie would say, there's some funny there. You ought to take this class. So that was the impetus there. And meeting you, getting that support, having the ability to do an open mic. I had so many times I just did not feel it, didn't want to do it, going through a lot of life stuff. Business is stressful. I'm a fish out of water in some ways there.
Yeah.
And so it has been shifting to where it it's becoming more of a release than thinking, oh shit, there's an open mic and I'm supposed to come up with 3 minutes and Hal's gonna hold the fire to my feet and give me a guilt trip if I say I don't want to do it, or he's gonna do something like say, oh, just watch. You don't have to go up, and then he's gonna call me up first, you asshole. That's so. Every day is different. I'm learning more to see the funny and think, oh, I need to write that down because there's something there.
Yeah.
So it's still growing, and I don't know where it's going for me.
Yeah.
We have this show coming up, and that's
August 20th, everybody.
Yeah.
This I don't know if this might have already happened by this time, but
right.
Anyway. So what who was your favorite comedian when you were like how old were you when you first heard of comedy in the first place?
This was kind of edgy, but I had a Joan Rivers record probably, I don't know what year her most popular one came out. It was probably 82.
So you were like, what, 18-ish?
No, more like 13, 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were pretty young when you
Steve
discovered
Martin, Wild and Crazy Guy back then. So Joan Rivers and Steve Martin, those were probably the first comedy records that I had. Then Eddie Murphy, Delirious came out, and he was all over Saturday Night Live, so we were seeing him all the time. He had great characters. He definitely got more raw in his comedy, and being the straight kind of Mormon kid, it was a little dangerous.
Yeah.
I wasn't one that necessarily had to be blue to be funny. There was a small stint when I came back from being a missionary where I got a job waiting at a comedy club.
Yeah.
And it lasted 2 days.
2 days? Wow.
2 days.
Why so short?
I already had a couple jobs. Why I thought I needed another one.
Oh, okay. So
so first of all, they invited me to watch a show, and I remember the opener was really funny, smart, funny, and he got some laughs. But the headliners were just like, how many different ways can we say fuck?
Okay.
And they got the most laughs, the beer drinking crowd, and I made note of that. It's like, that's weird. This guy was a lot funnier, but the crowd was good and oiled up, and so the very first day that I was on the job, I was put with sharing a cash box with another brand new person. We worked hard. I got cussed at. I got beer spilled on me. And in the end, allegedly, the other guy gave out too much change.
Oh.
So we ended up with 0 tips.
Oh,
and
wow.
I just went,
no,
this isn't
not my gig. Okay. But it's an interesting experience you had that, though. Because back then when you were like, how old were you when you like 18, 19?
That would have been 21.
Oh, yeah, I guess 21 because you can't serve alcohol if you're underage.
21, 22.
So would 22-year-old Jody think to himself, I'll be doing this someday?
Never. Oh, that would probably instill terror.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Which, I still feel on occasion, but then you pressure me and
that's
I push through it.
That's pretty much what you got to do. You got to push through it, because if you don't push through it, it doesn't happen, right?
Right.
So once you, like, y'all, I don't know about you, but every time I push through something, I end up feeling a lot better after. What is that the same case with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think about when we did this Mesquite gig
Mm-hmm.
and how we were just seeing from the start. There are some things that are making this rough.
Yeah.
And so at that point, with just kind of surrendering to what is and just playing with it, and I think we were playing more to each other than we were the crowd.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that works. I notice if you can find that one or two people
Yeah.
that you can focus in on and be speaking to,
Yeah.
and they're giving you the response, more of the response you want, screw everybody else.
Yeah, because you did pretty well that night. I was very surprised because that was not a fun crowd to work with, and you didn't cower to, like you didn't back down. Like you still stuck up, you like stuck to your guns and kept going, and that was like what, your third or fourth show that you've ever done?
Third show.
Third? That's pretty impressive, man, because I remember I've had worse experiences, and I didn't even have a crowd like that. That not only were they not paying attention, you had their attention. You pretty much made them go against you because you pretty much shat on them. And then, but not only that, they turned on you, and then you still stuck to your guns. Like I remember my second show, dude. It was a crowd that wanted to watch comedy. It was at a comedy club. I bombed so bad, and coming from my first show where I did like amazing. Like I don't have evidence of it, but it was amazing. Like I did, like everybody after the show was like, "Oh my God, that was so great." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess I should keep doing this." So, but my second show, dude, no one against me, and I just like just shrunk up, like your third show, and the crowd is not really with you. You stuck to your guns. That was really impressive because like more experienced people would like crumble under that sort of pressure. So you should take that as a good win.
I still haven't gone back and fully watched that.
I mean, you don't need to if you don't want to.
I noticed. Well, the crowd was quite a distance away from us, and so you had mentioned my energy. I felt like I needed to get to them, so I was projecting harder.
Yeah,
and I was forgetting parts of my jokes that made me realize, well, that wasn't that funny, and it was disconnected, but came out of it feeling like, oh, that was all right.
Yeah, dude, because
we sucked. That was all right.
Yeah, dude, it was really good because not many people would like. How long have you been doing stand-up so far? Has it been a year?
The very first show that I did was in January. It was at the end of January.
Okay. So,
and I had taken some classes. The first classes I took were probably in September the year before, and I was supposed to go up, and there was just too much anxiety and stress. I just did not feel it.
So, I mean, from September. So you've been doing it for almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good, dude. So maybe
your open mic is definitely a big part of that because it's the getting up.
Well,
it's just getting up and doing it.
Practice. That's all it is.
Yeah.
The more you practice, the better you get, right? So, and that's really what it, like, if you want to be a true comedian, that's how you become a comedian. Like, it's stage time, right? So that's all it is. That's that and writing, those two coupled together. If you do that all the time, it's just a combination of improvement, right? Mm-hmm. So if you stick to it, you'll get better. So that's. But I was genuinely impressed, dude. Like I
This is where you get your commercial for your stand-up in here.
So Cool It Cryotherapy. There's an open mic at 8 p.m.
Oh yeah.
Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Anyway, so yeah, dude, I think
Follow Rumble Room 13 on
Instagram. So
and order today your online
course.
course.
Yeah,
what is it?
Jumpstart your journey into
Jumpstart.
stand-up comedy. I'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
Anyway, so I got distracted. So yeah, man.
Yeah, you were talking about the hell gig.
Yeah, yeah. That's literally what those are called, because like nobody there knew there was a comedy show, so it was interesting. What was interesting too was like when TC was hosting, the crowd wasn't really that excited, but for some reason, the moment he announced that you were coming on, they suddenly realized, oh wait a minute, there's a comedy show, and they got like really excited.
And then I shat on them.
Then you sat on them, and then they turned on you, but which was interesting to watch, because other people wouldn't have done that joke knowing that they were gonna shit on them, you know. So I just thought that was very amusing, because
What was I thinking? Well, I got the energy up.
yeah,
That's for sure.
but do you realize how much that increasing energy is like essential?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It definitely helped me in continuing to get through
Yeah.
the set. And there was that negative feedback was fuel to,
Yeah.
you know, whether it's laughs, which are the best, you know, getting those just almost, you know, spit your drink out laugh is the best.
Mhm.
But there was some payoff there.
Yeah.
And I knew that they weren't going to start throwing things at me. It was more like, oh, this is a little edgy.
Yeah. Okay. All right, man. So
I don't know. Do you have a different perspective there?
no, I mean it was interesting. I was very amused by the whole thing. So
Well, then we had our little person in the wheelchair just
you know what threw me
swearing
off?
at the families
Yeah.
eating the families that were there for a nice little family Mexican dinner, and
Yeah.
and he's telling them, I told you should have taken them out with their Legos.
Dude, that's what threw me off the whole thing. Like seeing, because it wasn't a clean show, right? So I was like, okay, this is not clean. I'm going all out. And then you see little kids. I'm like, oh, so now you got to curb yourself a little bit. And then that guy Billy, he just didn't care at all.
No, he's not gonna pretend to be someone different.
No, so it was a very like I had a great time, but for different reasons, right? Because like I didn't do well, and I enjoy bombing. It doesn't bother me, but it was interesting to see the because I hadn't done that bad in a while. So
If the people were closer, yeah, it wouldn't have.
yeah,
Yeah, if you're trying to play to this crowd way out on the other side of the room, and you're definitely more that interactive.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was tough.
All right, man. So, anything you'd like to promote?
If you're in St. George, definitely cryotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
If this gets dropped before August 20th, then come to our show at Blues Cats in St. George. But I'd say continue to follow the Rumble Room. That is always tagging my business, because right now that's where we're holding the open mic on a regular basis. And for the moment, and I think, yeah, if you're in this area, come and check us
Come and
out.
enjoy. All right, so follow at Cool It Cryotherapy on Instagram.
Cool It Cryo.
Cool It Cryo. Okay, follow at Cool It Cryo. If you're in St. George and you want to get some cryotherapy done, go to Mr. Wright over here. And what's your personal Instagram?
I don't know. It's Jody Wright something or other.
All right,
yeah.
I'll get it. I'll get
Cool
it.
It Cryo. Follow Cool It Cryo.
Okay, I'll have your personal one too.
Okay.
Thanks for coming by, buddy.
Thanks.
All right, man. Hi, I didn't see you there, but since I got you here, let me ask you a couple questions. Would you like to support this podcast? If that's a yes, then I have another question for you. Do you like stand-up comedy? Have you been thinking about it for a while? Why haven't you done it? Is it because of fear? Are you doubting yourself? Is that what it is? What if I told you that we can turn those fears into action and we can get some results, right? So, look, if you want to have fun, if you want to do stand-up comedy, if you just want to challenge yourself, if you're a business person, it's great to know how to speak in public because you have to do it constantly. And by doing stand-up comedy, you'll be doing it all the time, especially because it's a lot harder to make people laugh than it is to just talk in public. So, if you like doing that, and if you want to have fun, how about you go to the link that's below? It's right here. linktr.ee/khalu2. Linktree/Khalu2. And if you go to that link, click on the stand-up comedy course for beginners, and you can buy that course over there, and we'll all have a grand old time. You have fun learning how to do stand-up. I have fun being with you. It's all fun and games over here. So what do you say? You want to join me? I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Well, hello there, my good friend. How are you? I hope you're doing swell on this fine day. There was one time where I enjoyed someone's video, and I didn't know how to get the next one. So I thought to myself, oh, what if I subscribe to their video? What a novel thought. If you enjoyed this video, would you please like it? Subscribe to the channel. That way, anytime a new video comes up, you'll get the next notification. You know when it comes up. It will be swell. And if you enjoyed it a lot, share it with your friends. That's all I'm saying. Only if you enjoyed it a lot. If you didn't enjoy it that much, just keep it to yourself, Just keep it to yourself. All right. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.